3, 2, 1. Well, hello again, and greetings once again from Groveport, Ohio. This is Pastor James M. Lawson, and how are you wonderful fine folks still doing today? Today's date, it is still Monday, April the 20th of 2015. This is now, and I didn't expect it to go this many videos, this is now video number 5. I honestly did not expect to go this many videos of my new series, Shocking News, Satan Not an Angel, or Was Not an Angel, and then in parentheses, a deeper look into Isaiah chapter 14. Okay, now like I said, this is my 5th video, and I honestly did not expect to go this long. I hope to wrap it up. Let me start my stopwatch. Woo! Because I forgot to start it on the last 2 videos. Let me get it started now. Okay, so I am done with the references to the Wikipedias. Plus we've seen and read from a lot of other books already. So what I want to do now is this. I want to take you guys back to there's a guy on Google Plus. His name is Stu Call. And the reason, honestly, the reason why I'm even showing you guys this is not to make fun of him, not to call him a liar. I'm not trying to put him down. And I do not hold a grudge. I forgive him for the drama that took place a few weeks ago after I posted my original 4 videos. You know, I can forgive him and move on. So the same reason that I wanted to show you guys all of my resources, the Wikipedias and all the other books, Jasher, the 2 Babylons, the Secret Teachings of All Ages, all these other books as references, is the same reason why I'm wanting to show you Stu Call as a reference. Okay? I want to provide to you guys everything that I can show in order to make this video series and to show you guys a deeper look into Isaiah 14. That's the only reason why I'm even bringing Stu Call. Sorry, I keep wanting to say Google. Stu Call into this. So, you know, no, I don't want myself or anybody else to give him trouble or hassle him or spam him or anything else. Just realize that this video, the whole idea of even doing this video series came about as a result of him trying to prove me wrong on my first 4 videos, my original series of Satan Not Being an Angel. Okay? So with that in mind, there's a couple different things I wanted to look at. Once again, it may not be easy to see, but this is Stu Call's personal profile on Google Plus, so that you guys know where to find it. Now he wrote this nice as 105 lines worth of an article, okay, trying to, you know, prove his point that Satan was an angel that fell, so on and so forth. And he titled it at the beginning, at the top of it was a title, Exegetical Original Languages, okay? So that is where you can look at his profile and find it. Now I'm going to say this. I can't attach that particular file, or that, you know, what he actually wrote. I cannot attach that to any of my YouTube videos because YouTube won't allow me. So what I am going to do, or what I'm hoping to do, is attach that underneath my videos once I start posting them in my group, Rock Force Church group, in Google+. So that it's still out there. People can look at, you know, hey, and read exactly what he had posted and what he said. Moving on. So, like I said, here is, and it printed out, I printed it on paper and it became like 1.5 pages worth. His, on there it was 105 lines. Exegetical original languages. Okay, so he kind of gave a little bit of his references as well. What he has is Cambridge Bible for Schools and Colleges. Verse 12. O Lucifer, son of morning, in his splendor he is likened to the morning star, which was worshipped by the Babylonians under the name Istar, I-S-T-A-R. Also, as you'll see here in just a minute, Ishtar, I-S-H-T-A-R. As described in Assyrian by an epithet, Mustili, shining star, which seems to correspond to the word used, and he quoted Schrader cuneiform inscriptions on this verse. Anyway, the translation Lucifer, light bearer, is quite correct and needlessly abandoned by the, I'm not sure what he meant by RV. Capital R, capital V. I don't know whether that's one of the Bibles or something else, or a person. Anyway, that's what he wrote. By some of the fathers, the passage was applied to the fall of Satan, and he referenced also Luke 10:18, hence the current use of Lucifer as the name of the devil. Hopefully this will be the last video and I can finally get into Luke 10:18 and Revelation chapter 12 as well. Hopefully. Woo, God willing. Anyway, let's start at the top. First of all, he says that, which was worshipped by the Babylonians under the name Ishtar. Okay, so what I did find, and this is, once again, this is another Wikipedia file. And quite simply, I'm not even going to show it to you on the screen. Just go to Google, type in the word Ishtar, and find the Wikipedia file for Ishtar. There's a picture of it. That's what it looks like at the top of the screen. Kind of gives you the table of contents and so on and so forth. Okay. Ishtar, English pronunciation, transliteration Ishtar, Akkadian, Sumerian, is the East Semitic, Akkadian, Assyrian, and Babylonian goddess, female, of fertility, love, war, and sex. She is the counterpart of the Sumerian Inanna and is the cognate of the Northwest Semitic Aramean goddess Astarte. Okay, first, quick little pause here. First, he is saying that in Isaiah 14, particularly verse 12, when it talks about, O Lucifer, the son of the morning, he is trying to say that this was Babylonian, they worshiped by the Babylonians in the name Ishtar. Well, okay, there's something wrong with that picture. Ishtar is female. And in that particular verse, verse 12, O Lucifer, son of morning, that is masculine. So that already, at the very first thing he brings up, and I'm trying not, I'm not calling him a liar. Please don't make that mistake. I'm not calling him a liar. I'm not putting him down. I'm just saying that that was a mistake. It was an error, a mistake, because they're not, this was masculine. The verse is masculine. They're not going to be worshiping a feminine God in the masculine. So that was the very first mistake that Stu Call made. Okay. For we can read, lay, prostrate. Now, there again, I don't know what he's referring to there. 12 through 15, the third strophe contains the prophet's reflection on the sudden fall of the king of Babylon, that he should go to Sheol at all was a fate never contemplated by his soaring and self-defying pride. Pulpit commentary. That's, I'm thinking or guessing that that is his reference to that. It's pulpit commentary. Let me get back to Ishtar, because I didn't finish Ishtar. I only took a small pause. Sorry, folks, I'm going back and forth. Bear with me. Characteristics. Ishtar was the goddess of love, war, fertility, and sexuality. Ishtar was the daughter of Anu. She was particularly worshipped in modern Mesopotamia at the Assyrian cities of Nineveh, Ashur, and Erbil. I don't know what that is. Besides the lions on her gate, her symbol is an 8-pointed star. In the Babylonian pantheon, she was the divine personification of the planet Venus. Remember, I kept saying Venus keeps showing up in there. Venus happens also to be one of the names of Nimrod's wife, Semiramis. Venus was one of the names of his wife. That's why it keeps showing up all the time when they worship Nimrod and his wife under many different names based on their new tongues, their new languages and cultures. Ishtar had many lovers, however, as Grand notes, Grand, whoever Grand is. Woe to him whom Ishtar had honored. The fickle goddess treated her passing lovers cruelly, and unhappy wretches usually paid dearly for the favors heaped on them. Animals enslaved by love lost their native vigor. They fell into traps laid by men and were domesticated by them. Thou hast loved the lion, mighty in strength, says hero Gilgamesh to Ishtar. And thou hast dug for him 7 and 7 pits. Thou hast loved the steed, proud in battle, and destined for the halter, the goad of the whip. Even the gods of Ishtar's love was fatal. In her youth, the goddess had loved Tammuz. So there's the name, another god's name, Tammuz, who we know is another name is of Nimrod, which is also a sun god, by the way. God of the harvest, and is to believe Gilgamesh is the love caused the death of Tammuz. Her cult may have involved sacred prostitution, though this is debatable. Grand referred to her holy city at Uruk as the town of sacred courtesans, and to her as the courtesan of the gods. Descent into the underworld. One of the famous myths about Ishtar describes her descent into the underworld. In this myth, Ishtar approaches the gates of the underworld and demands that the gatekeeper open them. I stopped my notes there because I did. You can read it if you want. The rest of it's in there in the Wikipedia file under Ishtar. I just didn't see it relevant. Now, remember when I said the name Uttar, which was mentioned in the first Wikipedia file that I talked about in the video number 1. So here is Uttar. It's another Wikipedia file Just type in Attar and it'll bring you this Wikipedia file. Attar, Aramaic, Athtar, South Arabia, Astar, Abyssinia, Ashtar, Moab, Ashtar, in parentheses T, Ashtart, Canaan, Ishtar, Assyrio-Babylonian, is the god of the morning star in Western Semitic mythology. In Canaanite legend again, he attempts to usurp the throne of the dead god Baal Hadad, but proves inadequate in semi-arid regions of Western Asia. He was sometimes worshipped as a rain god. See where I talked about earlier how Nimrod introduced fire worship and water worship? Two different worships, but all kind of still very similar. Here's another chance where we see it in the Two Babylon book. You see it a lot in the Two Babylon books. Now here is just Wikipedia reaffirming what Reverend Hislop wrote in his book, The Two Babylons, about the rain god or water worship. His female counterpart is the Phoenician Astarte. In more southerly regions, he is probably known as Du-Sameni. Attar was worshipped in southern Arabia in pre-Islamic times. A god of war, he was often referred to as he who is bold in battle. He who is bold in battle speaks of none other than Nimrod. You can read that in Genesis chapter 11 and in the book of Jasher about how bold in battle Nimrod was. So there again, another reference to none other than Nimrod, just with a different name based on a language that has got changed. One of his symbols was the spear point and antelope, and his sacred animal, was his sacred animal. He had power over Venus, once again Venus, the morning star, and was believed to provide humankind with water. Water worship again. In ancient times, Arabia shared the gods of Mesopotamia, being close to Babylon, except the genders and symbols of these deities were later swapped around. For instance, the sun god Shamash became the sun goddess Shams in southern Arabia. Ishtar became the male storm god Attar. See, there again, after the people were split up in all these different languages all of a sudden, they all had to come up with different names. This is what we're seeing. Two Babylons very clearly explains all that. Hislop in the Two Babylons. So all of these people spread out. They had their languages changed, so they kept tossing around all these different names of the gods and goddesses, which really were just different names for Nimrod and Semiramis. But we're seeing that brought to light even with Wikipedia. The Sabaeans and other southern Arabians worshipped stars and planets, chief among whom were the sun, Shams, moon, Almaka, and Astar, the planet Venus. As the head of southern Arabian pantheon, Astar was a god of the thunderstorm. Thor. That's another name for Nimrod, Thor, but here it is in Arabian as Astar, dispensing natural irrigation in the form of rain. Once again, water worship. Astar was also represented fertility and water as essential to fertility. Water worship again. When representing water, he stood not just for the act of raining itself, but rather for the useful flow of the water after the rain, in the Wadi, the Arabian watercourse, which is dry except in the rainy season. I stopped with, you can read more about Aftar in Wikipedia. I stopped there. So, going back to Stu Call's notes, and I'm not going to keep going, I'm not going to cover them all. We stopped with pulpit commentary. Verse 12, again referring to Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, Babylon's sudden fall is compared with a great force and beauty to the seeming fall of a star from heaven. The word Lucifer means properly shining one, and no doubt here designates a star. Well, we've seen that in Wikipedia. It designates a star, but then again, it doesn't necessarily refer to a star, all at the same time. Number one. Oh, I put a number one there. Page 1 of Lucifer, the second article of Wikipedia that I brought up under Lucifer, the first page of that. But whether any particular star or no is uncertain. The LXX translated by, and it gives a Greek name, but I don't see, it doesn't give me the interpretation in English of that Greek name. Whence our Lucifer, the subjoined epithet, son of the morning or of the dawn, accords well with this rendering. How art thou cut down to the ground? One of Isaiah's favorite changes of metaphor. Is a favorite metaphor also to which he reverts, that of representing the destruction of a nation by the felling of a tree or a forest. Comparative, I guess is what he meant to say. C-O-M-P period is what he put. So I guess it's comparatively. With Isaiah chapter 2 verse 13 and 12. Isaiah chapter 2 verse 12 and 13. Isaiah chapter 10 verses 33 and 34, etc. Number 2. I put number 2 in my own notes. These are, when I looked at these verses, Isaiah chapter 2, verse 12 and 13, and Isaiah chapter 10, verses 33 and 34, you can look them up on your own. I did myself. These verses are very generic. Maybe they can be applied, maybe they can't be applied, but very, very generically, I really see that there's no real relevance. So why he included them as relevant, I did not see that. Which did weaken the nations, rather, which did prostrate the nations. The word used is of one great force. Comparatively, Exodus chapter 17 verse 13 and Job chapter 14 verse 10. Now these particular verses, in my opinion, because I looked these two up myself, these are even more generic and do not really apply at all. I don't even know why he brought them in as comparative references. They're so generic. I'm assuming, because he listed this as the reference, that this is where he got this reference from. Kiel and Delit's biblical commentary on the Old Testament. Now, I will say this. From that point on, he has roughly 2 other paragraphs that go on from that point on. Honestly, you can read these for yourselves on his profile page, or hopefully I'll get to post them on my group page when I post the videos. Those other 2 paragraphs that he put, I mean, hey, he made 105 lines. He probably did a very what he thought was a good job doing these. These other two paragraphs really are completely generic and irrelevant. They absolutely they do not apply to the subject at hand in reference to, either trying to prove his point, which his point was trying to prove that Satan was an angel that fell, or, my point that Satan was not an angel that fell in Isaiah 14:12. So, completely just irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Now, what I'm going to do at this time, oh, please don't tell me the whole computer shut down. The whole tablet shut down on me. I do not like this, Sam. Come on. Okay, give me a few minutes. Yeah, that was not good. Not good at all. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip that. I was going to go back to Stu Call and show you guys that. I don't have time to do all that. Now, when he posted a couple things, some of his friends that are on his, his Google Plus account made comments, okay? One of his friends that was not Stu Call, but somebody else, brought up the idea of the Kabbalah. Now, Stu Call did not bring it up, and Stu Call went on to say, in a response comment, that the Kabbalah is a cult. Okay, I'm not going to sit there and say the Kabbalah is a cult. I'm not going to sit there and say it's not a cult. To me, that is irrelevant at this time. The fact is, it was brought up by somebody making a comment. So, what I have done is, I actually have this book as well. The Holy Kabbalah, and I need to make sure I get the name of the author right, Arthur Edward Waite. Okay? Because somebody brought the Kabbalah in as a comment, trying to say that, Lucifer did not want to bow down to man after God created man, was in the Kabbalah. Okay? Once again, that is irrelevant. But the Kabbalah was brought in, so I am using this as a reference. Now, so, in this book, The Holy Kabbalah, page 276, I have underlined and highlighted this as a conclusion to this part. It seems desirable to say that the Zoharic prince of demons is never compared to the morning star or to any other luminary in heaven. I do not remember that the word Hallel, interesting how Kabbalah uses that word just like we saw in the Wikipedia. Anyway, I do not remember that the word Hallel equals day star equals Lucifer occurs anywhere in the text as a synonym of Satan. So now we see that that is what the Kabbalah has to say. So even the Kabbalah is saying that that word Lucifer has nothing to do with Satan. So what we saw earlier is that a lot of the pagan and pagan religions get it. The occultists get it. A lot of Satanists get it. The Kabbalists get it. So once again, a whole nother reference. All these other people get it. Why is it so hard for Christians to get it? Everybody else can get it and say, you know what? Lucifer, son of the morning, whatever, has absolutely nothing to do with Satan. Nothing at all. It's simply Babylonian worship of all these different gods under different names, which all is referral to the Babylonian kingdom. So when Isaiah prophesied it in chapter 14, he's speaking not of Satan at all. He's speaking of the Babylonian king and the line of kings, the procession of the kings, and the Babylonian kingdom, and the Babylonian religious system. This is my 5 videos all to prove this. We have dug so deep into Isaiah chapter 14 that if honestly after 5 videos of this, if you guys just simply do not get it now, if I have not made myself clear, if I have not provided enough references, that's why I show you every single one of my references. If you still don't get it and you still want to hold on to the tradition of man and think that Satan was once an angel that fell from heaven, then all I got to say is more power to you. You can believe what you want to believe, but if you're not believing, if your beliefs do not match what the Bible in its purity says, then I don't say you're wrong. The Bible says that you're wrong. I made that point clear, and I'm making it clear again. Now, I got 8 minutes left to try to finish this video, and I'm going to really try to do this. Let's take a quick look. I read this before in video number 4 of my original series. Luke chapter 10, verse 18. This is Jesus saying this, and he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Now, what I did not make clear, and I tried to say this in my comments when Stu Call kept trying to combat me, to prove that I was wrong and he was right, was this. Jesus, when he made this statement in this verse, Jesus was speaking of a future. In other words, he had not yet been crucified. He had not yet gone to the whole cross thing, been crucified and whatnot. So this was still slightly a future thing for Jesus, but at the same time, present. And I'll explain that more once we get into chapter 12 of Revelation. Like I keep saying, we're going to get there. Let's get there. Okay. Revelations chapter 12. Ooh, did I write down what I want to actually cover? I don't think I did. And we'll start with verse 6. Okay. And the woman fled into the wilderness where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. That is a reference to Daniel, where Daniel keeps saying 1,260 days, which is 1,260 days, which, by the way, is 3.5 years. So that's why I say that it was both Jesus' present and yet his future, because it really starts, the whole process starts with the beginning of Jesus' ministry. When John baptized Jesus in the river, that's when it starts. Jesus' ministry from that point on, from being baptized in the river by John to his crucifixion, was exactly 3.5 years. Or a time, we'll look at it here in another verse, a time and times and half a time. Also referenced by Daniel. In other words, 1,260 days, 3.5 years. So the whole ministry of Jesus is when it began. That's when the woman got rest, was during the ministry of Jesus. So Revelation and in Daniel, it keeps going back and forth, back and forth. But it really centers around Jesus. Everything has to center around Jesus. His ministry and then his crucifixion, death, burial, and resurrection. Let's move on. Verse 7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world, and he was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Again, like I said earlier, we can come to a conclusion that these angels that he drew, the third part of the angels, were probably already evil to begin with. So these were just his angels because they were evil and Satan was evil. I should have explained that very clearly by now. Here is the real timeline. This verse 10 is the real timeline. I'll read the verse. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and the strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of the brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. That one verse, that single verse, is the exact timeline because, number one, salvation could not come until it was completed at the cross, at Jesus' death, burial, resurrection. Jesus' last statements was, his dying breath was, it is finished. Then he died. Then he went down to hell. He got the keys of death, hell, and destruction. He ascended. He went up to the right hand of God. So it was finished, and then it was sealed. That is when I personally believe that Satan was cast out of heaven. In other words, he was cast out from ever being able to go back to heaven and be in the presence of God. From that point on, he could no longer go back before the presence of God like he did with Job. He could only he's cast down. So yes, he was cast down, but not as it depicts in Isaiah 14:12. He was cast down to where he could no longer go before the presence of God and be an accuser in God's face about the brethren. Now he is down here on earth, and he can only accuse us to ourselves and to other mankind. It is what I referenced in my 4th video, the original series. Go back and watch that. But this is the timeline. So once again, like I said, it all centers around Jesus. Jesus must be at the very center of our whole basis of faith. Not the devil, not the Babylonian system, but Jesus Christ. So it has to center around him, his ministry, and then his death, burial, and resurrection. Because salvation could not come until after Jesus finished it. So now is salvation. Now is come the power of Christ. Bam! Read on. I don't got much time left. In fact, I don't have time. Go ahead and read the rest of those verses in Revelation chapter 12. I covered as much as I need to. Honestly, again, if it's not clear by now that Isaiah 14:12 does not apply to the devil, that it applies to the Babylonian system, then there's just, there's something wrong. You really need to look at the big picture, examine all the evidence, because I gave you all my references, and examine all the evidence and search for yourselves and find the truth, like I have, like Steve Gregg has, and like others have. Thank you. God bless you. Done with this video.